At approximately 1 p.m., January 10th, 2026, the victims flew into Dallas, Texas, alongside RD, that's Radrick Davis, a.k.a. Gucci Mane's head of security, hereinafter referred to as CW, and other security referred to as TD, for a scheduled business meeting between Radrick Davis and Latrell Williams Jr., a.k.a. Pooh Shiesty. So Gucci Mane's 2 bodyguards fly in beforehand. Pooh Shiesty was signed to Radrick Davis' music label 1017 since 2021.
I'm Ryan Rabel. I'm the U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Texas. Thank you for coming. This week, 9 individuals, including well-known musical artists, kidnapped and robbed at gunpoint numerous victims at a music studio in Dallas, Texas.
Radrick and Williams Jr. were scheduled to meet because Pooh Shiesty was upset about the terms of his contract and wished to be released from his contractual obligations. Flashback, if you didn't know, Pooh Shiesty got 63 months. Back in 2023, he was so lucky. He had 3 charges rolled into that. Probably the legal, listen, when you're signed to a big label, Gucci Mane's 1017 is distributed by Atlantic, which is part of course, the music entertainment oligarchy. That is part of the general oligarchy that runs America and the world. If Pooh Shiesty had not been a rapper signed, just someone signed to a big label, he wouldn't have got the deal he got. He got 63 months. He had a case. They pulled a firearm gang related in Memphis. And then he pulled up in a Lamborghini in one of the most high-end parts of South Beach, Miami, to buy marijuana, codeine, rare gym shoes from somebody in a Turo rented Lambo. They robbed and shot the guy. Pooh Shiesty dropped a Louis Vuitton bag with $40,000.
Broad daylight bullets, 2 hit, over $500,000 in exotic cars. All of it on surveillance video obtained exclusively by 7 News from October in ultra-quiet Bay Harbor Islands. And it involves a recording artist, Pooh Shiesty, except unlike this clip, what happened here was no music video. The footage shows a McLaren sports car, Mercedes Maybach, and another Mercedes pull into this East Bay Harbor Drive condo parking lot. Men from the vehicles eventually get out and meet, and then this. The man in the white shirt has a pistol. The man in the black sweatshirt has a longer gun, and at about the same time, they begin firing before retreating back to the Maybach. The fancy getaway cars speed off, and one of 2 victims then hobbles to the car.
Pooh Shiesty, while robbing somebody, dropped a Louis Vuitton bag with $40,000 in it that he had been flashing on social media. Yeah, I said it twice, because it's so retarded, and that led to the unraveling of that case. And then while he was on bond for that, he was doing the show. This is when You Should Have Ducked, Get It Back in Blood, was out with Lil Durk, who, of course, is facing his own life sentence. He was doing a show in Miami. He was flashing. I guess he got paid with cash. He was holding up a whole bunch of cash on the stage. People rushed the stage. It got kind of out of control. Pooh Shiesty grabbed a firearm. Pa! A security guard was shot and made an initial complaint. And then within a couple of days, he said, oh, you know what? I don't actually know who shot me. So the standard thing happened. Pooh Shiesty was part of something bigger, the evil white man's music system. So he was protected. He got only 63 months for shooting 2 different people, brandishing a firearm on another person, and armed robbery. And so he did 3.5 years. And so he got out a couple months ago. And he is now charged with what he's charged with. So at 1:45 p.m., CW and TD, Gucci Mane's bodyguards, and the rest of the victims show up at the scheduled meeting location, a music recording studio, which is in a bigger office building. Here's some pictures. The feds have a crazy amount of pictures because there was Dallas Police Department. There was the cameras in the building, And then there's also their own social media. So when the bodyguards and the victims showed up, they realized that the studio was closed. These guys were relaxed. So this is Gucci Mane's bodyguards. They go to a liquor store and purchased liquor. And the federal prosecutor chose to put into his description, they purchased liquor in red plastic Solo cups. So he's creating the environment for you. And so at this point, Pooh Shiesty's father, Mr. Lantrell Williams Sr., aka Crime Boss, called JN. JN is one of the victims. He is maybe Gucci Mane's manager. He's the middleman. Pooh Shiesty's father, Lantrell Williams Sr., starts calling JN, who owns the studio, at about 2:50 over and over. At 3:15, they finally get on the phone. He finds out, hey, I want to book some time. Pooh Shiesty's here, and we're going to record with Gucci Mane. JN shows up at 3:15. He opens up the studio for RD, which is Randrick Davis. MM, this is the white kid or white man that is the only person that shows some assault marks in the evidence. BP, CW, and TD, these are Gucci Mane's bodyguards. So the studio's in a big office building in Dallas. Here they are looking in. There's cameras everywhere, gentlemen. At 3:39, an employee of the studio arrived to let him in. He saw Pooh Shiesty and his father arguing, it says, over the phone. Whether that means they were on the phone with each other or they were arguing with somebody on the phone is unclear. Approximately 3:40, some Williams Jr., Williams Sr., Wright, Johnson, Waters, Rogers, Gibson, Glover, McDaniel. So Tim and his father had 7 people with them. They enter the lobby building. One individual with a dreadlock hairstyle, later identified as Gibson, can be seen exiting the office building and shortly returning with a bag over his shoulder. The 9 individuals entered the studio's control room. So they get there. The one guy goes and comes back in with a duffel bag with the AK-47s in it. They go into the studio's control room. Control room, if you've never been in a studio, there'll be a recording booth that's blocked off with soundproof stuff, maybe plexiglass. The control room is where the engineer and all that stuff, and he can look through and hit a button and say, hey, redo that. And if you're a rapper, you go and record in the recording booth, and people hang out in the control room. So here's pictures of the studio. This is not no hood studio. Now, there's been already statements made by the victims in the case. Probably not Randrick Davis. Of course, Gucci Mane has famously said he's not going to cooperate with the government. So what? He doesn't need to. There's other victims. If Pooh Shiesty's dumbass had done this a different way, he might have got away with it. But we're going to get into the behavioral disorders of these guys. So Pooh Shiesty, of course, is on federal it's called probation in the feds, not parole. He's not supposed to have left his house. He's certainly not supposed to have a gun. He's not supposed to be robbing people. So while at this robbery, or what was about to become a robbery, some of the victims in the case, Gucci Mane's entourage, bodyguards, overheard him arguing with his probation agent about, oh, what do you mean I'm not supposed to be here? I got permission. And he's told to return immediately. So this probably puts Pooh Shiesty into, he's come there with the intentions to maybe record a song with Gucci, get him in a mood, and try to get him out the contract. But remember, he came with his dad and 7 other people, 9 of them, and they brought big guns. Now, it's not like Pooh Shiesty was living like that anyways, so him rolling in a group and bringing a bunch of guns doesn't necessarily mean he was planning to do something. Hard to say. They saw Pooh Shiesty with the ankle monitor. Now, here's a picture of Pooh Shiesty, supposedly when he's 11 years old, with an ankle monitor on. This is a guy who spent his life under state raised, as they used to say in jail, like he's been going to juvenile, been on house arrest, in and out of jail. It probably means nothing to him. So Radrick Davis, Gucci Mane, tells Pooh Shiesty, we can reschedule the studio session since clearly you're not supposed to be here. You need to get back home. Remember, Gucci Mane is responsible for finding a lot of the talent out of the South, the Atlanta, well, not just Atlanta, out of the South. From the Migos, who have been getting themselves shot since they're ain't under Gucci Mane's protection. Young Thug, a lot of people. But he cut his whole roster down just to Fujiano and Pooh Shiesty. He said the rest were too much trouble and he was losing money on them. So he knows Pooh Shiesty is not supposed to be there. He tells him we can reschedule. Pooh Shiesty said, let me speak with you privately. Gucci Mane is a guy with a history of doing a lot of rough stuff. He's a big guy. He works out. He's got his bodyguards there. Even if you know Pooh Shiesty to be a wild character, it's still got to seem pretty regular. They go into a different room while everybody else hangs out in the control room. Gucci Mane's bodyguards give red cups out to some of Pooh Shiesty's retard goons, and they share the liquor they bought from Habibi's recently. So they're all drinking liquor together while Lantrell Jr., a.k.a. Pooh Shiesty, and young Radrick are arguing in the control room because Pooh Shiesty's complaining about his contract. Lantrell goes tells the guy, right, yo, get the bag.
As alleged, once these three men were inside the recording studio, Williams Jr. and 8 co-conspirators, several of whom traveled from Memphis, Tennessee, executed a coordinated armed takeover. As alleged, Williams Jr. produced an AK-style pistol and forced one of the victims to sign a release from the recording contract at gunpoint.
He comes back in with the duffel bag, and Pooh Shiesty himself whips out a black AK-style pistol from the bag. Well, it's not a pistol. They call it in there some type of mini. Maybe it was a Draco. I don't know. He pulls out something that looks like an AK-47. And this is where it all goes down. So if you're thinking that this case is kind of, it's he say, she say, there was 9 assailants and 5 victims. Jan is sort of a victim. I think 6 victims. So Gucci Mane doesn't have to say anything. And there's a bunch of cameras. Gucci Mane cannot participate all he wants to, and it's very irrelevant. So Gucci Mane complies. Lantrell Williams has pulled out this machine gun on him, and he complies. Wright, the guy who brought the bag, who was also Memphis rapper Big 30, who Gucci Mane showed love to before and did a song with. That's why you got to be. Listen, man, some of these people from the most toxic communities, the most toxic households, the most toxic cities, you got to be careful. By even being nice to them, they're not used to anyone being nice to them. By you being nice to them, they think you're soft. You must be stupid and soft to be nice to me, because I'm fucked up and I'm a bad person. So that's clearly what's going on with someone like Big 30 and Lantrell Williams Jr. and Sr. So this dummy Big 30 decides he's gonna act as the notary, or as they call it amongst retarded people, the note of republic. He's going to be the note of republic, and he's going to record Gucci Mane releasing Pooh Shiesty from his contract at gunpoint by signing it. After the release was signed, Lantrell says, give me your wedding ring, your watch, your earrings, and cash. Was this all a plan? I don't think so. I think that Pooh Shiesty and his father and his friends fall into a group of people that do exist and you do meet when you out here on the mean streets, or just, in life in general. But of people that just, Pooh Shiesty's 26, that's the age. At this age, you're supposed to start to have some self-control, but everybody's brain development is different. He robs Gucci Mane at gunpoint. Now, again, Code of the street's supposed to be you get it back in blood. If they had done this to Gucci Man and no one was there, that's why it probably took 6 weeks for this case to be brought up. Gucci Man would have took that and then either left it alone or did whatever he was going to do or whatever. That's why when people be coming up dead, you don't know what happened to lead up to it. Imagine if no one had been there but Gucci Man and they got away with this, and then 3 months from now, Pooh Shiesty's murdered somewhere and you wonder why. But why these guys would do that when all these people were there, bodyguards, the owner of the studio. Gucci Man doesn't have to be a snitch. When you're rolling around with regular people, you kind of got the best of both worlds. You can act street, and then the people you're with can act like civilians, quote unquote, when it's convenient. So he doesn't just get him out of his contract, he robs him. He must have absolutely no impulse control. Generally, I'm very neutral. I don't talk bad about people, but like this is just, I don't care like about Gucci Man or anything, but this is pretty scary. Pooh Shiesty and his father and their friends, these are the type of people that get truth to the head and left in a vacant lot in Detroit. Because you're just out of, like, you want to get out of your contract, you want to be mad at Gucci Man, all that, but like, you bring in a duffel bag with an AK, make me sign off. This idiot Big 30 records it like he's a paralegal or a note of republic. And then you tell him, give me your wedding ring, bitch, and your earrings and all that. What is it? I just don't understand how his brain works. Like, what was supposed to happen? It's hard to say. So after Gucci Man released the signs paperwork, he shows it. Pooh Shiesty shows it to his dumb dad and said, the paperwork was good. Mind you, they're in there like this is a negotiation. Crime boss, a.k.a. Lantrell Williams Sr. says, it's got to be dated to be legally binding because, us putting an AK-47 to his head doesn't make it not be legally binding. Just make sure you get the date, son. Thanks, Dad. And they forced Gucci Man to put the date next to a signature. I'm sure we've all signed contracts. You do have to put the date with the signature. But I don't think it mattered in this case. So as these guys are leaving, so now Big 30 and Pooh Shiesty have robbed Gucci Man in the booth. They come out into the control room. All these other guys, Pooh Shiesty's entourage or his goons, whatever, along with Gucci's bodyguards and MM, the Caucasian gentleman, white iron brother, I'm sorry for your loss. They're in there sharing alcohol and stuff. And an individual known as CMO Damn Fool, who was with Pooh Shiesty, searched his pocket and stole his wallet. This is Gucci Man's bodyguard. They're robbing Gucci Man's bodyguard. He takes his chain and necklace. Maybe he's not, with 1017 around it. BP further identified an individual known as Baby Slam 375, Mr. Johnson, is being involved in the kidnapping and robbery. If I remember, while I'm robbing you, if we move you around, if I move you, hey, walk out of this room into this room, it's kidnapping. Kidnapping, man, you got to be very careful if you're out here sticking people up. Get the money where they're standing and leave. You move them around, you're at risk of the kidnapping statute. In the 1930s, when America had a big crime wave, and there was a lot of kidnappings, like the Charles Lindbergh's baby and many others, kidnapping really frightens people and is a very socially destabilizing crime. You can get the death penalty. The capital offenses are first-degree murder, rape, kidnapping, and sometimes arson. Arson is very, very dangerous. My Caucasian brother, MM, as we see here, his fine, light skin was harmed by the guys robbing him. He has look. They whether they choked him or they snatched something off of his neck. His Caucasian skin is not made for that type of abrasion, and so he's the only person in the federal report that has pictures. He has physical injuries. He had a Louis Vuitton bag full of watches, bunch of valuable watches that they took. So again, Pooh Shiesty really seems to have sent this off. Him and his retarded father. They kind of on the spur of the moment because the probation officer tells them, you're not supposed to be there. You got to come back. They're probably going to wait for the right time to catch Gucci alone and do this. But he was going to get a warrant put out for him because he's on a tracker. And mind you, again, of course, they came to this robbery in cars that they rented in their names at Hertz. Big 30's father owned one of the cars they came in, and Pooh Shiesty's father was there. So this is all family business. MM, the Caucasian gentleman was robbed. It was Rolex, a Louis Vuitton bag, AirPods. All this stuff had air tags connected to it, of course. As all this was going on, Big 30 blocks the door, preventing the bodyguards from going in there. They had their guns out, but they realized they were outnumbered by all of Pooh Shiesty's crew, and this is why the robbery was able to happen. Now, Gucci gets pushed onto the couch in the control room, and they're getting guns aimed at him. They thought they were going to be killed. They put a firearm to the back of two of the bodyguards, or to the bodyguard's head. They thought they were going to be executed. And they have the bodyguard and RD, Radrick Davis, Gucci Mane, leave the control room in the studio and walk them out to their car. And my Caucasian brother, MM, turns to Pooh Shiesty and says, you really going to take my watches? This is after he'd been pistol whipped, had been choked up, and etc. According to the recorded surveillance footage, they leave at 4:48 p.m. So all of this is on multiple cameras. In the area, there's a Dallas Police Department camera because it's on a big highway. There's cameras in the office building generally, and there's cameras in the studio. No one at all probably even needs to testify, and these guys are in bad shape. So here you see the cars leaving. This is the cars pulling off. Rodney Wright Sr. owns the Hellcat, bearing Tennessee license plates, rolling out. The other car was rented by Hertz. The victims identified William Sr.'s account as Mob Ties Global. So I don't know if he's down with Jay Prince or what. Mob Ties Global. Big 30, MMBP, and RD, Radrick Davis, all identify Wright, a well-known hip-hop artist, also known as Big 30, is present during the offense. So Gucci Mane, at least during the initial, he said Big 30 was there. I guess that violates the street code. I don't know, whatever. He says now he's not going to help out, but he did identify the people. I mean, what else are you going to really do? Here's a picture of these guys. That's Lantrell Williams Jr., a.k.a. Pooh Shiesty, with the money on his head. The gentleman on the right is Big 30. He has a large sum of money held on top of his unkempt hair while his feet are on the table. I don't know if this is money they robbed from them or this is something else. It's presented as evidence in this case. Here is KD, Big Slime. This is him holding up money. This is him. This is Damn Fool 375. On surveillance footage from the offense location, an individual believed to be Rogers can be seen exiting the building, carrying what appears to be the Louis Vuitton bag MM reported stolen. January 15th, 2026, Rogers posted a video on his Damn Fool account wearing a Rolex GMT Batman Rolex with an oyster steel band that appears to be visually similar to the watch stolen from MM, who provided investigators with photographs of receipt and the serial number. So here he is showing the watch. Here it is in the box with the serial number. Very strange. I mean, it just really seems like part of the, I guess we're at the end of the line with the rap and the street stuff, because you when you do this is like suicide by cop. This is like, oh, we're gonna do some wild shit and go to prison for a long time, because once Latrell Williams Jr., Pooh Shiesty, lost control of himself and robbed Gucci Man, they got him to sign a contract and they stick him up. And then his friends see what's going on. His friends were sitting in the control room drinking out of red plastic Solo cups, per the prosecutor's description. Everybody's buddy. And suddenly I see my boy robbing your boys, so I hop up. I start robbing you. The state of Texas. Well, there's a federal search warrant obtained in the state of Texas, and on the Instagram account. So they get search warrants on your Instagram accounts. Here's one of the perpetrators' Instagram accounts. They gave up on the ones that didn't know what was coming. Dallas, Texas. There's money and there's the watch they stole. And then the other thing, MM, the one on the right, is MM supplied the receipt and the watch. So here he is saying, well, there's the watch I bought with the serial number, and there's a receipt. And there's a guy I accused of robbing me wearing the watch on his own Instagram several days later. Glover bragging about he got a new rope. So here's these guys on Instagram. There's the 1017 chain, take it from the bodyguard or whatever. Blah, blah, blah. These are all just photos. Again, all of these guys, everyone, Radrick Davis did identify Big 30 and Pooh Shiesty as being there. BP, that's one of the bodyguards, identified Glizzy 375. This is this guy, McDaniel, right here, with a low fade haircut. He threatened to shoot Gucci Mane's bodyguard before Pooh Shiesty intervened, so it was almost a homicide. Pooh Shiesty set it off, but he didn't let his boys kill him. Imagine right now, Offset is murdered in front of the Hard Rock Casino, and Gucci Mane and his bodyguards, Triple M, well, they don't kill them, they might as well kill the white cameraman, whatever he was. And you got the studio owner. You could have 5 dead people. Offset could be dead. Like, this rap industry is unraveling in front of our eyes, because the very things that made it entertaining to us, now when the money dries up and a lot of these guys got a taste of the good life, what did Pooh Shiesty get out to? He put out that song, but when you have a record, when you shot the security at a club, when you call people on eBay and rob them while you're in a Turo, people don't want to F with you. So, are you the promoter that wants to have Pooh Shiesty do a song? I bet you he wasn't getting booked. There's a lot of people that can come and do songs. Do you really want to pick him? The show money probably wasn't there. The music has moved on. Pooh Shiesty had his shot. He missed it. Following a summary of each suspect's involvement and evidence tying each to the case, I'm not going to bother to go all this. DeMarcus Glover, eyewitness accounts state that Glover produced a handgun or AK and robbed MM of his personal property. A lot of this stuff. So Gucci Mane could not help out, but MM is participating. He's the one with the neck marks, but why wouldn't he? And anyways, all this stuff's on camera. Gucci Mane and them gave initial statements placing them guys there. And besides all of that, Pooh Shiesty's ankle monitor has him at the scene of the crime. So cell phone records, Greyhound bus. Some of these guys came in via bus. I mean, they have everyone's travel records. It's all kind of the same. Lontrell Williams Jr., eyewitness accounts state, this is Pooh Shiesty. Eyewitness accounts state that Williams Jr. brought R.D. into the recording studio and demanded that R.D. Radrick Davis Gucci Mane sign a release contract before taking his wedding ring, watch, earrings, and cash. So I think he's just someone who loses. There's people like that in jail. They're dangerous. They just don't have control of themselves. Eyewitness accounts also place Williams Jr. in the room. This is just like the stuff he did to get locked up. You're in a Turo Lambo and you rob somebody for codeine and shoot them. Cell phone records, electronic location monitoring. Electronic location monitoring also places Williams Jr. at a Staples location with his father, believed to be printing the contract. These dummies get to Dallas and some other idiot has sent them the new contract and they print it out at a Staples. They even got the record of that. Everything we do is monitored. What are you thinking about? Williams Sr. assisted Williams Jr. in procuring Gucci Mane's signature. Surveillance footage from the day of the offense saw Williams Sr. entering the building unmasked and later exiting the building carrying a backpack he didn't have when he entered. So he goes in and goes out and comes back with a bag. Rodney Wright Jr., Big 30, who we see here looking stupid in custody. He filmed Gucci Mane signing the release. Cell phone records indicate that Wright traveled back to Memphis along with the other target suspects. Conclusion: based on the facts set forth above, there is probable cause to believe that on January 10th, 2026, in the Dallas Division of the Northern District of Texas, DeMarcus Glover, Demarion Gibson, Corday Johnson, Darian McDaniel, Terrence Rogers, Kadarius Waters, Lontrell Williams Jr., a.k.a. Pooh Shiesty, Lontrell Williams Sr., a.k.a. Mob Boss, Crime Boss, whatever, and Rodney Wright Jr., a.k.a. Big 30, conspired to commit kidnapping. So that's the biggest charge. Kidnapping is a capital offense in some states. It's a life offense in the feds. So they usually will write you up for the highest charge. But MM has assault marks. So you got a bunch of individual armed robberies. Once they want to do the indictment, your Hobbs Act, you're interfering with interstate commerce by making them sign a fake contract. Or the supposed contract is gonna let him out. And there it is. These guys are in. It doesn't look like trouble they're gonna be able to get themselves out of. That's the write-up is pretty clear cut. So there you have it. That's the Department of Justice subpoena. They're all in custody, and it doesn't look good for them. So there's the Pooh Shiesty breakdown from the government's perspective. Al Prophet American Dope.